What's going on, my friends? This week we're talking about the dark history of a reincarnated villainess. We just got done watching episode number 6, and I'm happy to report that this week's episode was pretty good. I am sad to report to you that once again, though, I did not find this episode funny. Now, in engaging with a lot of you guys in the comments, that seems to just kind of be a me thing, which is totally perfectly fine. Like, at the end of the day, that's kind of how we all watch anime. It's my opinion is going to differ from you. I may really like one scene. You may have not given it a second thought, or maybe you didn't like it. I may really love a character. You may hate them. That's just kind of how things go when it comes to anime, manga, light novels, is you associate or you tie yourself to something or someone or a piece of the story and someone else doesn't. That's natural to happen. But regardless, I did think this episode was a fun episode. Sadly, I can tell that it was being comedic. Once again, I can tell it was being funny. I just didn't find it funny, if that makes sense. And one thing that I do want to say, and then I'll get into the story of the show this week, is the shtick that I've kind of talked about over and over about thing occurs in the show, right? Thing happens in this week. It was her whole storyline about kind of like her sister and abductions and girls disappearing and stuff and the police. And then that tied back into a moment in her middle school life where she was kind of, not associated because that's not the right word, but kind of like a big fan of or going through those like mystery drama stuff. And she kind of wrote that into her story, and it showed her mom going like once again. And then it came back to her, having that run-in with the cop, and he's on her and about to choke her and all other crazy stuff. I think his name was Cenobia or something like that. And I do think that back and forth thing, although I do appreciate it at moments, it is a little old. It's like, okay, every episode, do we need 2 events that happen that we make a huge callback to her in the life? Now, I want to be careful with it because I do appreciate the fact that it is showing, where she was mentally. I do love that it's showing that like a part of, who she was before. But at the end of the day, she was just like a middle school Chinibio girl. And I think at this point we get it. Like, we get it. She had like every fantasy in the book. Basically everything that she went through or had an interest in life, she put that into her writing. And that's why this story is all over the place, because she was all over the place. There was no consistency. It was just a middle school girl's fantasy hitting paper, whatever the flavor of that week was. If she hated a boy, there was some boy hating in here. If she really loved mystery, there was mystery in here. If she wanted somebody to come be the choking guy, there was the choking guy in here. And it was all centered around the MC going around that, which is her sister here. So she has to run in with the cop. She lets him off guard. Yuki, I think his name's Yuki, right? Yeah, no, Yomi. Yomi ended up being sick, so she had to attend a ball. She ended up finding out that, everybody hates her, and she wasn't able to make any friends whatsoever. And she ends up running into this girl who is a little bit out there with white hair, and basically like she's the daughter of a baron or something like that. And she goes through this whole monologue of how her dad has a mistress and this duchess, and she hates her, and she goes off and basically showing a crazy part of herself. So essentially our main character, Ayana, is making her first friend, which I thought was pretty cool. So that was pretty fun to kind of end the episode. And then it ends with that girl dropping like an earring or something. So now she has a tie to go and find this girl once again. So first friends, police, run in with the police, you know what I mean? Again, this episode was fun. It just wasn't as funny as you could tell that it was trying to be. And again, for you guys, there's maybe one or many of you who, did legitimately find it funny, and I think that's pretty cool. It just didn't hit for me, at least this week. But anyways, yeah, episode 6 I thought was a 6 out of 10. I thought it was a fine episode. I thought it was a fine, good episode. I wish the funnies, when it's trying to be, hit for me, because it just didn't. But I do think it was a decent episode, and it was a decent watch, and I didn't think it was a waste of time. Also, they did meet some model lady, who's like the most noble of nobles in the land too, which I thought was cool at the ball as well. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week for episode number 7. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. But this one has 5 more episodes left, so we'll see on how it shakes out.